Hello and welcome to the Wrestling Headlines Hell in a Cell review for 2022. My name is Matt Maher, aka Imp, and my God, my God. Uh, yeah, this is definitely an interesting one, I guess. There's a lot. Right, so first off, this will forever be the night that Cody Rhodes wrestled a Hell in a Cell match with a torn pectoral muscle, the Madman. I'm going to try and actually turn my microphone up a little bit, which is actually very boring to listen to. Edit filters. There it is. Let's turn it up a bit. Let's go to there, because I'm crazy. There we go. My God. Yeah. It's insane that we just watched what we just watched. Like, first off, what a sucky weekend it's been for injuries. WWE, AEW, it doesn't matter. No one is safe. Like, an injured Peck, unfortunately, the tail as we went into this night. Like, good God. Just imagine this card without this main event. Because that was on the cards earlier today. It's like, are they actually going to do the show without this main event? Like, for me, it's pretty easy to fix. You just put the women's match in the cell. It's fine. They could have a really strong match and every now and then kick themselves into one of the cell walls. It's fine. It works all right. But my God, a torn pectoral muscle, and he wrestled a Hell in a Cell match. He took table bumps. Like, I'm sorry, that is insane. Yeah, but yeah, it's insane. Anyway, we're gonna get through the show and everything and whatnot. Talk about the aftershock feelings. Like, immediately, the whole point of this show is like these are immediate feelings. They're not the most thought about, and there's well put thoughts. These are immediately. Yeah. This is how I'm feeling. So first off, my name is Matt Maher, aka Imp, and you can go to the Wrestling Headlines stuff on Facebook and Twitter and whatnot. The links are there on the screen. If you listen to the audio version, that's at Festival Headlines, Wrestle Without an E, and Wrestling Headlines over at Facebook side of it. Right, we're going to talk about the main event first. It's the main thing, because there was when I looked at the news today, I was a little bit concerned that all of the effort that I'd put in to creating all the stuff to get this all live, like, it's the worst feeling as someone who's created stuff as a creator. Always feels a bit knobbish as a creator, but just that thing of you create the thing, you're set to go, and then you look at the news, and it's like, wait, it's not going to be cancelled, right? It's like, are they actually going to run this Hell in a Cell pay-per-view without the only Hell in a Cell match set for it? Like, oh dear. Like, maybe in past years they might have been able to get away with, like, you know what, one of the Cell matches can't happen, legit injury, fine, whatever. Whilst the entire pay-per-view is built around this match. It's different to past Hell in a Cell years. You could maybe get away with it. This year's like, well, what do we do? The fans would be fine with it. Like, totally understand. But my God. But the reveal of the injury as well. The pec the pec was completely red. It was his right pec, red all the way across the right side of the torso and down half of his arm as well. Like, you absolute madman, Cody. Like, what are you? Like, also, like, medically, I'm just like, how is this man been cleared to wrestle? They're clearly insane. Like, crazy in the commitment to follow through with the main event, and obviously the fans afterwards will be like, I mean, he's bloody earned that kind of superhero-like response, I guess. But that is mad. It is insane. Like that medical point of view of, why is this man wrestling? This man should not be wrestling. Yeah. But the match itself, like, the two going the only route you really can if you simply must still do a wrestle. Like, Rollins with pure concentration on the injury, driving and digging the kendo stick into the bruises. Like, oh God, at one point, just yanking him by the arm and then hitting him with a super kick. That was like a nice little ditty there as well. Like, a very unique Hell in a Cell match. Like, one man in no state to wrestle, as the other slowly whips him with a polka dot weight belt. Like, what am I watching? Like, Cody hardly had a right arm as he tried to wrestle a main event Hell in a Cell match. Like, it's certainly unique in terms of uniqueness in a positive way. It's been a long time since we've had a Hell in a Cell match that had that element of being difficult to watch because of the visual violence on display. Like, if anything, that WWE for the first time in a long time were able to have, I guess, that visual discomfort from watching violence in Hell in a Cell because of Cody's injury. Like every time anything was done in that manner, you had that ability to create a feeling in a cell match that you haven't done since the PG era. It's been a long time since we've had any feeling like that. But in this match, they were able to do it because of the Cody injury. Obviously, whether it was wise or not is a very different question. How they got cleared to do such a thing, as in, I'd be surprised if we see Cody wrestle for a long time after this. I don't know what's going to happen in terms of Raw or whatever. It's just like, the fact he even wrestled tonight is insane. Because I was thinking, this might actually be quite a short match. This might be like just making sure he doesn't like aggravate it or anything, or make it worse than. Because I don't know how bad the tear is. They said completely torn, but I don't know. Like when they've cleared him to wrestle, I'm not going to take what kind of like medical lines that they're giving when they've allowed him to wrestle. Who knows? If I'm because WWE are the only news source right now. It will obviously come out over time. Maybe within like by tomorrow or whatever, but currently right now that looked bad. So the fact that he's then wrestled a full Hell in a Cell match and where he couldn't lift his arm, and very evidently every time taking a bump onto his back was difficult, he's in pain walking, never mind anything else. That's what makes me believe this man is insane. Like no, like it's all right, it's all right. Anyway, in terms of the match itself as well, Seth with some great heat, adding fire to the chants of Cody, dressed in polka dots in reference to Dusty for the Mind Games. Cody getting his own callback in the form of the cowbell, both tied up in that and eventually close full clonk to the noggin. Like, also, I hope you're happy, Chicago. You finally got your bleeding tables in this match. Seth frog splashing through the first, and oh Christ, why are you taking a powerbomb table bump with a torn pectoral muscle on Cody? Like, Jesus Christ. Some nice little touches as well, especially towards the end of the match, like Cody finally hitting the pedigree and the sequence with both lads nailing a crossroads. Go to wrestle as strong a match as they could in the circumstances, and they did a really good job. Like by the end of the match, you were really invested in what was happening. The insane man that is Cody Rhodes winning with 2 crossroads before clobbering Seth with the sledgehammer. That meant twisting over and round with the torn. Oh, Jesus Christ! Yeah, with Cody's injury, they had no right to wrestle a match as good as they did. Just Jesus, Cody. Now pop off, go have a good heal. Like, what is wrong with you? Take some time. Oh, my word. Like, again, just the news coming out of... No, seriously, Friday, lifting weights, Cody Rhodes tore his pectoral muscle. And the statement coming out from WWE was saying that it was injured somewhat in the brawl on Monday, but he completely tore it on Friday. And he was pulled from a house show on Saturday, and now... You see the massive mark all over him. How was he cleared to wrestle a Hell in a Cell match? Like, my God. Insane. But still, a really strong main event in the circumstances where the crowd were obviously they were massively into it, and I got engaged more and more as the match went on. It's just that question of, was this wise to put on? He's got a torn muscle and he's taking bumps into the Hell in a Cell cage wall, and he's taking powerbomb table bumps, trying to protect himself every time. Like Seth was put for the frog splash spot. Seth was like rolling him onto the table like really carefully, like, are you all right? Trying to lead him over. He was like, I'm gonna have to roll you over your torn pectoral muscle arm. Like, just try and make sure you can actually get off the table. You can try and make it a bit more subtle, but with Cody's arm, it was like, no, he's going to have to be in a position where he's blatantly getting off that table for the frog splash spot. Because there's no other way. Like, we can't do it. It's either that or don't do the spot. Some people may say, don't do the spot. But no. The spot's happening. There's no moving of this. We're doing our multiple table spots. It's fine. That's totally fine. None of that's in question. That's the only definite. It's like, all right, cool. But yeah, it was an interesting main event. where they had. It was very interesting. It was, for me, an engaging main event where the longer it went on, the more into it I got on. And I'm a massive fan of the things like calling backs to your feud or the little arcs that played out throughout the different matches coming to a head here. Like, this felt like a finale match. You don't always get in WWE. You always get that sense of, oh, will it continue? Won't it? It's like there was enough in this match that felt like the third and final piece. And what probably helps is the fact that Cody has a very clear torn pectoral muscle. As in, the likelihood of a fourth match at the next pay-per-view, pretty slim. So it helps in that feeling definite that this is it. This is the end. No more. No more. Stop. This is it. We've had 3 in a row. The WWE formula have run the same match again and again and again. But yeah, sucks for Cody, obviously making this massive jump to WWE, this massive career shift, and then tearing his pectoral muscle before it can really get going. Like, for me, this was the catapult moment. This is the match to then launch him as, right, direction-wise, you're going as a main eventer. And this was the match to put him in that position. And I feel like they still did it, but obviously they can't then capitalise on any of the momentum from it because he's hurt. And he's got, who knows how long he'll be out for. I don't know what the plans are for Cody. I don't know what the plans were for Cody Roman or whatever. Is this enough? Like, if Cody's out till next year, is this enough momentum to carry him over to the Royal Rumble? Like, who knows? Who knows? Or Elimination Chamber, or whenever he's fit again. It's a unique dilemma. It's like similar to what kind of AEW have suddenly got with CM Punk, where he was meant to headline their massive cross-promotional international pay-per-view at the end of this month, and suddenly he's injured. Like, he's their champion, and then he's injured within 5 days of winning the title. Like, plans completely scrapped. It's in that thing where Cody is very clearly the long-term plan for Roman. He is like the destination at the moment. Yes, there's the massive match possibly with The Rock, but in terms of what I'm seeing week to week on TV, you've bit more short term. You've got Drew, but then longer term you've got Cody. That's really who they are building, and this sucks. Obviously, this sucks in terms of that. You can see clearly where they're going, and it sucks for Cody. Oh, obviously, again making that huge jump, being promised everything, being getting everything. Like, this is your moment to become a huge, huge star. And then he tears his back and it can't happen. It's like, it sucks. Oh well. But the Crazy Man put on a solid Hell in a Cell match that generally had me engaged. Like, it's this and the opener, well, the only matches I'd ever consider returning to in the future. Like, it's the question of, if modern day WWE pay-per-views, like, that question I kind of sometimes ask myself is, can I imagine myself going back and watching these shows as I do other shows? And it's like, I'm like, quite often just like, no, actually, it's weird, yeah. Where there is fun on the pay-per-views, but there's not a lot of story weight there to help engage you. And this show is absolutely full of that. You've got your main events, you've got your opener that I thought were both fantastic. And again, the main event with the asterisks of, should it have? Depends how comfortable you are with visible injury, being poked about with that. With those two, they were really, for me, really strong matches that I generally was invested and cared about. Everything else in between was a skip. Nothing, genuinely. If you're somebody who's like, I wonder how much is like the odd match, like, you really don't need to, like, if there's certain stories that you're invested, like, I know people are having fun with the Kevin Owens Ezekiel match. Like, yeah, like, for me, it's not the most engaging show I've ever watched. It was fine. Like, you're going to hear me say that a lot in this review. A strong opener, a big closer, and a whole lot of perfectly fine, yet easily skippable filling. And that's how I sum up the Hell in a Cell 2022. The whole conversation will be Cody, and rightfully so. There's so many different kind of talking points with that Hell in a Cell main event. It's just that the rest of the show, in terms of what I have to now do, it's like, well, yeah, that is lovely. The main event, what the show is all focused around, is the massive talking point, and that's fine. That works. Yeah. But then I have to sit here and review the rest of the show as well. It's like, oh well, that's a shame. Yeah, the opener's solid. I get to start off well, but unfortunately, I'm going to have to end this review. It feels like I'm ending the review negatively. But when the Hell in a Cell match delivers in spite of massive asterisks, it walls in its way to achieve any level of rating of decency, really, and they still managed it. They still hooked me in, which tells you how talented these guys are. That they were able to do that in the circumstances. Like, round of applause, like, bravo. They had no right to, but it was a very unique feeling main event, and that's both good and bad. It just depends. Yeah, for me, in terms of recommending the match, depends how comfortable you are with very visible injury then being used like a focus point of the match, and like things being kind of driven and wedged into like a very obvious bruise. It's like, yeah, it depends on your comfortable levels. Some people can't take that. Some people are fine with it. I'm fine. I mean, I'm relatively fine. I react to it, but I'm also fine with it being there. Like, it gets react. I don't just sit there motionless like the odd person you see on the front row of the wrestling show, just arms folded the entire show, not reacting to anything. Apparently, he's enjoying it. Those people do exist. Apparently, that's just how they enjoy wrestling. So yes. James Boyd opened to me on Thursday that he's one of those people. One Nature Radio. It's like, sometimes I just have my arms folded. Oh, cool. Right, yeah. Anyway, so WWE Hell in a Cell 2022 emanated from Chicago, Illinois, from the sold-out Allstate Arena. According to Dave Meltzer, the Allstate Arena was sold out for both he was comparing it to the Las Vegas show, and was saying it was similar numbers in terms of this arena and the Double or Nothing show. And really, that means that Hell in a Cell had a bigger gate than Double or Nothing because WWE's tickets are more expensive. So therefore, Hell in a Cell, strong gate, did well. Well done them. Like $1 million. That means it's over $1 million because Double or Nothing was AEW's like, in terms of improvement, it was their kind of like next their biggest gate, if I'm right, in terms of a live audience. Whilst Hell in a Cell is more climbing back up, maybe. I don't know. WWE've had a dip. I don't know if these shows like this are going to start doing better. Chicago is a hot wrestling crowd. They're a hot wrestling city. You can almost bank on them. Give them a decent pay-per-view. You can always bank on them turning up and being loud for the show. Which I guess they kind of were. Like, I often got the impression that I wasn't engaged, but they were still chanting, "This is awesome," and having a lovely time. And whenever they kind of tuned out of a match, they still started chanting for stuff. Like, they didn't go quiet and completely disengaged, like I've seen in the past. Like, quite often, you'll see a crowd become disengaged, and then nowadays they start piping in random stuff, like the "This is awesome" chants or whatever. And it's irritatingly obvious. It distracts me, it pulls me away. I didn't really feel that this show. Like, the crowd were always doing some form of noise, and they just let it play out, and I was fine with that. I like that. Yeah, like, stop the crowd sweetening. For me, it makes everything just feel faker. It's another thing, because WWE's trying to always suspend your belief, and the fact that they started doing the crowd noise inserted live during the shows is like another wall in that not happening. You're putting barriers in the way in achieving what you're trying to do there. Do not get it. Anyway, the Raw Women's Championship kicked off the show. I'm not going to go through the card in order. And I might drop in a little bit about the main event when I get to it by the end as well, just to end on a positive note. But Bianca Belair versus Asuka versus Becky Lynch kicks us off, booking the show like a 2K22 GM mode card, opening and closing with your two biggest matches with doesn't matter in the middle, because that's how the algorithm works for that game. It doesn't matter what you put in the mid card. The others are what the opening and the closing ones that really matter. This was really the only match on the show, though, with any real consequence. You had a rivalry closer, and for me, that counts in a way. So maybe it's a bit mean to say it. It's like, oh no, genuinely, Seth Rollins Cody was the final chapter in a 3-month feud against two top-level talents, constructed to really elevate to the top one of the guys. So, yeah, no, there's consequences in that one. It's a bit harsh for me to say the opener's the only one. But in terms of the rest of the show, it was one of two title matches, and never a million years did I think the US title was ever changing hands in the other match. So this is the only one that really felt like there were stakes there. A title change could happen, and it can completely shift the landscape of the women's division. and it felt like multiple of those would be relatively fine. I personally would never take the title off of Bianca Belair at this point, and obviously WWE are in the same boat with that. But it's just the fact that they, during the match, were able to convince me that, well, would the other road be that bad though? I was like, oh, you're right. Yes. Oh, I don't think I would mind these other routes. Yeah, good on you. Good on you. Yeah, it was good to see that in the match, and it was an incredibly fun opener. Like, these three incredible talents delivered an absolute banger. Like, you can give me a triple threat into playing with all three wrestlers rather than just doing that one-on-one swapping out technique. Like, give me the three version any day of the week. Becky running the shop in the early run before we were reminded how amazing Asuka is, and the complete package talent of that is Bianca, playing into the fun of three more and more as the match went on. Like, this, it felt like there was the standard pair of Becky Bianca, and that was the core for a lot of the match, and Asuka would come in and every now and then inject a shot of chaotic pace. Like, kept things continuously fresh as the match went on. Also meaning that when it became just Asuka and Becky in the ring, it's like, oh, this is actually a pairing we've not really felt in this match. It's like, so many ways to make the match feel fresh, even if it went longer. Some top-notch spots as well, like making Belair look insane. Like lifting Becky's disarmer up into a KOD, or your classic roll through and a lift into a crossbody, and lifting Becky attempting a rope bound to disarm her and then into a KO position again, this time just standing on the apron holding her up. Like, actually, that said, like, all three women got their chances to shine. The final 5 to 6 minutes, like an excellent stretch of giving momentum to each individual person in multiple close chances. It's like, oh, it was so good. Towards the end, I was so invested in this match. They got me. I was believing, as I was saying at the start of the review of this match, like, I was believing that all the different roads of a different winner from this match would have been good because of the way they were convincing me in this match. That each individual person got their moment, their run of momentum. It was like, oh God, are they going to win? Like Asuka with the Asuka lock in on Becky before Bianca then came back. It's like, oh, I genuinely thought they'd sold it for long enough. Like, it wouldn't be that bad though. Lynch all match was trying to steal wins as well, and in the end that came to her expense as Belair chucked the Irish Lash out and capitalised off a manhandle slam to retain. And woo, oh yes, oh dear. Right. Move on to the match. Just want to read Ed's comment. Wasn't it better the surprise of announcing a Hell in a Cell match back in 0203? Steph telling Lesnar and Austin telling Triple H when he lay on the ramp. Now wrestlers just check the calendar. Honestly, I'm not a massive fan. See, a big comment on the pay-per-view being part of the schedule, as in, oh, it's that time of year, rather than naturally building to that kind of level being of it in the feud. I guess, like, we've just seen in AEW, the way that they've built to blood and guts a lot, really, really naturally. Where, yes, it's back in my head that it might be becoming an annual fixture, which I really feel like is not the way to go with these things. But also at the same time, they made it feel like a natural progression of the feud they're in. This is the next step to take. Also over here, it really does scream, it's that time of year, therefore we are doing a Hell in a Cell match. It's like, oh, feels like big feud payoff stipulation. Yeah, it's like, yeah, 100% agree. I've never been a massive fan of gimmick pay-per-views. I think the one I'm most fine with is, I guess TLC's fine. Like, it's fine. It does this. It has the same problem. Where if you feel like naturally you've built to a point where you could do this special match, but it's just part of a pay-per-view, so you either have to hold it off till December, or check you're not doing it too close to it. It's a weird problem that it really creates. WWE don't often book though like TLC matches outside that area anyway. But when it comes to Hell in a Cell, just to have that luxury to be like, you know what, like with WrestleMania, whenever they've done a Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania, there's that problem of there's then also a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, so you get just multiple throughout the year. Yeah, I've never been a massive fan of it. The way to almost combat it is to make sure that because Hell in a Cell pay-per-views, they don't come out of nowhere. You know where they are. For me, Seth Cody is one of the better examples, and I think Becky and Sasha was as well. And obviously Bailey Sasha had one as well, where it felt like, in terms of the feud and the rivalry, it was the next natural progression for it to go to anyway. So they timed it relatively well. But most years is also one of the matches is not that. So whenever there's been a good example, that same year there's been a less than perfect Hell in a Cell reason to be a Hell in a Cell match. And for me, Cody Seth is one of the better examples, just because there was that 2-month build to it, and this is the feud payoff. And it was the same deal with Becky and Sasha, same deal with Bayley and Sasha. Like, they built to it. Well, it was Bayley Bianca last year. I don't think Bayley Bianca was massively. Oh, I can't remember. I don't remember that well. But yeah, my main point being that if you know it's coming, you can make it feel like the correct natural progression for the feud to go to. More often than not, though, WWE only books month to month, so when it gets to Hell in a Cell month, none of the feuds have been booked with it in mind. So it doesn't feel like the next natural progression. It screams, as we were just saying, you just check the calendar. Oh, it's that month, is it? Oh, all right, cool. For me, For me, it's a little hindrance to their own quality. Like, they're getting in front of their own way. It's like, no. Like, if you stop Hell in a Cell, because it's like, look at our branded gimmicks. They lead our pay-per-views. People love these kind of matches. I mean, yeah, they're highly rated quite often. But at least put the effort in to make the stories going into it make sense with it. I was fine with it this year. They only did one, which also helps. As I was just saying, when it comes to in terms of recent times, there's normally been one Hell in a Cell match which justified it, and one that was there because it's that time of year. Which is an improvement over the years before it, which had a very strong feeling of just every time they did a Hell in a Cell match, it was just because it was that time of year. At least in recent years, there was one match out of the two that felt like it was worth it. But here, there was one, and it was a feud that had reached a boiling point, and therefore I'm absolutely fine with it being in Hell in a Cell. And it's one of the better versions of it. The rest of the show was entirely skippable, and an absolutely fantastic women's match opened the show. But the rest of the card, I didn't need to see any of this. I feel like if I wasn't reviewing this show, I would have just stopped paying attention to these matches, just ended up skipping through them or doing whatever, going on Twitter, not really paying attention. Instead, your boy's got to make notes. Your boy's got to actually watch it and give a formed opinion of the match that took place, rather than, it doesn't matter though, does it? I could just not watch it. It's fine. Yeah, and that'll be my note to you, the people. If you are planning to watch Hell in a Cell, it's like, oh, well, I just want to know what match is actually worth fully paying attention to. Yeah, not this next one. Because next up is MVP and Omos versus Bobby Lashley. Porter wraps us into a match that happened. A match in a feud which took place on the Monday Night Raw. I'm giving it such a glowing review. In a feud that might have broken WWE's post-Thunderdome crowd-sweetening record. Like, I swear, every week on Monday Night Raw, like, I was flabbergasted this week to see that this angle main evented Raw. Purely because I still want to hold, like, some of the stronger stuff for the main event. And to see that this main evented, I was just like, but this is the angle that you are constantly having to sweeten the crowd for because they're not reacting. And then you main event with it? I mean, it's a choice. But the evidence before you would tell you it's not the best idea. It's just, you just see fans throughout this rivalry, they just sat on their hands, apparently going ballistic. Even then, that's why I kind of camped it up a little bit. I did my hands. It's like, no. In fact, they sat on their hands, but they are going crazy, chanting how awesome this is. But I can see them, though. They're not. Anyway, this feud is MVP with his new big tall boy, playing the numbers game against our Bobby face hero. Commentary selling him having to get through Omos to get to Porter, forgetting we've already seen Bobby Lashley beat Omos twice, so I'm not quite sure what the intrigue's meant to be in the narrative. It's like, oh, how is Bobby Lashley going to get to MVP because Omos is in the way? It's like, I've watched him beat him twice already. Like, and he won the arm. Like, it's fine. He won the arm wrestling thing. He's beaten him twice on pay-per-view. Like, in the question of how is Bobby Lashley going to be able to get to MVP if Omos is in the way, it's like, just beat him up. It's pretty simple. He's done it twice already. This time, the numbers allowed Omos to surprise attack Bobby Lashley, like at ringside, charging him into the barricade or Bobbycade. But they lost. Cedric Alexander pissed and causing the distraction to cost them the match. Lashley catching MVP in the Hurt Lock, and he wins the pay-per-view match in this feud for the 3rd time in a row. I swear to God, if this continues past tonight, I have no idea what WWE expects us to be intrigued by. It's like, in this one, it was, how is he's angry at Porter. How is Bobby Lashley going to get to MVP when Omos is standing in his way? But immediately I'm just like, but we've watched him beat him twice. I know how he's going to get to MVP. It's just, this time it was, again, it wasn't Bobby Lashley blasting through Omos that did it. It was the mixture, and then Cedric Alexander's there for Bobby Lashley to easily take him out. Then he could get an MVP and hit him with a Hurt Lock. It's like, yeah. After the match, the referee, as Bobby was posing on the corner, the referee, you could see him bottom left of the screen just shouting at him, like, Bobby, get the title! As a guy in the crowd has the title belt. And Bobby Lashley then takes it and celebrates it. Like, woo, I did it. Woo, yeah. So he did the celebration with the title, and that's a visual little thing just to test with the crowd of, would you like babyface Bobby, the Bobby face, to lift up this title to go for the championship? He got a nice pop. So, hey, maybe he's moving on. Maybe we don't have to see this match ever again. So I say that with a bit of like jest. However, Raw is the better show of the two when it comes to characters actually having direction and moving forward, so fingers crossed. Obviously, right now, there's a massive hindrance in the absence of a champion. But they need to feed somebody to Roman Reigns, and it seems like they might have cooled on Shinsuke Nakamura. Maybe with things lining up, it's not quite lined up for Riddle. He's one who could make quick sense. He can even do Riddle on SmackDown. Doesn't have to be on pay-per-view. You could do Bobby Lashley's on pay-per-view. Drew's obviously the big one for the summer. Again, Shinsuke seems to have kind of cooled off of as well. Yeah, just as long as I don't have to watch Bobby Lashley Omos again. It's fine. It's fine. Next up, Kevin Owens Ezekiel. And as I said earlier, for me, I thought this was fine fun. It was fine. A bit of fun. Overall, the feeling of this card was, it's fine. It doesn't mean I'm actively engaged in any of it. It's like, no, yeah, it's fine. Wrestling was fine. Like, KO was bumping like a madman and jumping about all over the place. And when he got the win, it was like, oh, I mean, the match did paint him as the stronger wrestler. So it kind of makes sense. And Chicago with a great pop for KO too. Scaring them with a squash tease off the bat, like to get them right into, like, you know what? It was fine fun. That's what it is. Because I do know as well, there are some people who are, I say some people, there's quite a lot of fans really enjoying Kevin Owens versus Ezekiel, praising it as some of the best things on Raw. I think I would agree with that sentiment. Like, for me, in terms of like what they're giving Kevin Owens, because this isn't incredible content, but the fact that this feud has often been some of the best stuff on Raw as of late tells you the quality of that man. Like, he is working crap into gold every single week on that show with this feud. And here, it kind of felt like he was giving everything he could to Ezekiel to make him look good, but also KO's going over, which has got me, like, arc question marks, because I felt like the entire point of this was Kevin Owens is meant to prove that Ezekiel is Elias and he can do it by defeating him. Doesn't make science sense? It's fine. Just ignore logic. It's wrestling. That's what they've told us. Kevin Owens was there to prove that Ezekiel is Elias. So therefore, with all story beats, that tells you that surely Ezekiel is going to win here. Just to be like, well, no, I'm a really good wrestler. I'm not going to cheat to win. I'm just going to defeat you with my heart. And then Kevin Owens wins here. And I'm just like, does that mean that the whole thing is Ezekiel is a bit of a joke? And he's not meant to be a character you take seriously or anything? Or maybe he actually is Elias? It's a weird one. I don't know where they're going with this. Kevin Owens winning, it could be maybe they decided something and the next course to take in this still, because it's WWE. I don't expect this arc to be done now. This is more the next step to then launch off of. It's like, I don't know what it is. It's Kevin Owens winning. It doesn't fit the run and momentum. It's a weird one. Like, why did Kevin Owens win? They may have their reasons. They just not played their card, and that's perfectly fine. But it's that question of, But where are you going though? Why does he win? It didn't seem to fit the build before it. Unless what comes on Raw explains it perfectly fine. I'm not the best when it comes. This is why I'm not the best at Twitter. It's like, no, it's going to be the greatest thing ever or the worst thing ever. It's like, oh, I mean, it was fine, and maybe they've got a reason which we'll get on Raw. Because I don't expect like long-term booking for WWE, but quite often they book like with the next show in mind. Like they go that far because they often go to like with the pay-per-view in mind. So it's not out of the realm of possibility for me to go. They've probably got an idea. Might see it play out on Raw or the next Raw. Like. They think that far ahead. They don't think more than a few weeks or a month. It's that rule of whenever WWE do something new, is it going to stay within 3 or 4? Like after 3 or 4 weeks, that's when I feel like I could get invested. Yeah, we'll see. Who knows what the victory does for these characters? I'm not 100% sure WWE know themselves, but you know what? It's fun on Raw each week regardless. That's right. Oh, also, vicious looking stunner to end it all too. Incredible sell from Ezekiel Elias. Bravo for that sell. Bravo. Yeah, bravo. In it as well, Kevin Owens unloading a whole array of his arsenal. So if you like Kevin Owens' signature moves, you got all of them in a match that I was so sure was meant to be Ezekiel's premium live event party, but instead, no, Kevin Owens got to do a good wrestle and then just won. Alright, cool. Then next up, AJ Styles, Finn Balor, and Liv Morgan versus Judgment Day. I call this the most genuine example of crowd separation from how much I was enjoying the show. The crowd absolutely loved this match. For the most part of this match, I felt like this was a great example of this feeling quite like a decent TV episode or a entertaining house show. Not a show that I felt like there was any real stakes on that I particularly had to watch. But the crowd were going crazy for it. They absolutely loved it. So I feel like I have to make that note. Like, well, for me, that's like a separation from how much I was enjoying it compared to how much the live crowd were. Because the live crowd, they absolutely loved this match. I started to zone out a bit. Like I'm kind of going a little bit at this point as I see the card ahead as well. Like, I'm not massively invested in a lot. It feels like I don't need to see any of this stuff. Like none of it is... Like, I'm not story-wise invested. It's wrestled really well. But in terms of investment in the stories and the characters that are there, for me, there just isn't really anything on this show. Apart from, obviously, massive asterisks for the main event and the opener. And I guess Kevin Owens' Ezekiel is at the level it was always going to be. So it's like, it's mid-card, silly, fun, mild investment. Whilst this is more bubbling under the surface... Don't know if I would definitely be putting this on the pay-per-view level stuff. It is bubbling nicely, but I'm not massively invested yet because they're in that bubbling phase still. Judgment Day, I don't have a massive investment in, but it's getting there. I might do. That is building nicely. I'm obviously just not there yet, and it only sticks out for me because of the rest of the card. Like, I'll say the same for the United States Championship match. For me, that match is absolutely fine. Maybe not 6th match on a card where, like, the 4 of the previous 5 have been fine. It's a weird one. Anyway, in terms of this 6-person match, livening up the shot by instantly clobbering each other and the lads like launching Liv up into Rana-ing Ripley. That the crowd were immediately grabbed by that. They were really into the swing of momentum, the way of our heroes. Finn getting to kick Priest, AJ the phenomenal forearm. He was the one that was never destined to hit at Mania. And Liv fully back and forth with her short-lived tag friend Ripley, including an absolutely outstanding DDT sell from Ripley. I was just kind of casually just kind of watching the match a bit, and then Liv does her hot tag in and was running with momentum, and then she does a spinning DDT, and the sell by Ripley was absolutely incredible. Just like a wooden plank, just go pull right onto her head, straight and vertical, like incredible sell, right onto her noggin, incredible. Crowd fully alive for a whole buttload of dives and a final Finn edge run into an inevitable pin. AJ cut open somewhere in the mayhem. I think it was from the dives. If I'm picturing it, there's a spot where AJ and Finn both kind of check they were diving at the same time to jump over the top ropes. It looked absolutely lovely. I think he dropped onto Priest and may have just caught something, and AJ was then cut open quite a bit. Didn't really see him much after that. The reason I knew he was bleeding really was because I saw blood on the floor, and then AJ jumped in to do his phenomenal forearm that got countered by Priest, and his face was like red. It's like, oh, okay, I got this. Yeah, Liv's dive was one I was like, why are you replaying this? It's like, evidently the timing's a little bit. She still hit it in the moment, absolutely fine. It's just like you don't have to slow row replay everything. You know, like this wasn't this was not the thing. Evidently stops for a second just to get the timing right, and then the actual kind of dive through catches the legs a bit on the ropes. Like, yeah, like in the moment of the match, yeah, I'm not critiquing that at all. Like, cool, yeah, it was fine. But the fact that they then slow mode it, yeah, then I spot these things. I didn't need to be shown that. I would never have said anything. It doesn't matter. Anyway, yeah, AJ unable to quell a Priest. And Ripley halting Balor's fire with a "but you wouldn't hit a woman, Finn," before Liv then jumps on her back and takes her down. Finn missed the coup de grace, Edge hits a spear and wins. They all start posing over Finn's body, with the question of the rumours of who is the fourth man. And I don't know if you build up who is the fourth man, like you tease it a little bit now, maybe next week, but the fact you can really use the fact that they kind of stood looking down at Finn in a little bit of a "you have promised, my child." Even though Finn's like 40 or 42, whatever he is. It's like, yeah. I mean, to be fair, Priest is, 38 or 39? Like, he's not a young chappie himself. But yeah, like, for me, it's a really fun 6-person match, which I could easily see main eventing Raw and be writing home about. But on this pay-per-view, I was like, yeah, it was a solidly wrestled match that I was enjoying the fast nature of, but I was never, like, massively invested into it. Now, obviously, I feel like I sometimes have to say that I'm on the when I'm in the come down of an AEW show, and we're talking about party 6-person matches, how fun they are. I'm just like, AEWs are just another level, really. And the fact that this is within a week of that, I was like, yeah, this was fine. It was fun. Yeah, I was never at any point really sitting there going, oh my god, this is incredible. I absolutely love this. I was like, no, it's fine. Yeah, it's enjoyable. And that's a level. That's Hell in a Cell. Just that little bit of that Nottinghamshire Larry David to coming out. It's like, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's alright. Yeah, perfectly enjoyable. The wrestling quality's high. It's just that I'm not particularly invested in any of the character stuff or any of the stories they're telling. So therefore I don't really care about any of the matches. But the wrestling is perfectly fine. And in the old world, you'd find ways to grip onto that in the pre-AEW wrestling landscape. Like you'd kind of grab onto those positive, strong performances. You get really stuck in there. You really get stuck behind those performers themselves as well. But in the AEW world, those kind of fans just watch AEW now. They haven't stuck with WWE, and the WWE crowds kind of in return, they've become a lot less smarky, but also it's weird. They feel very easy to please. Just do certain beats and they're happy just to chant along. And there is nothing for me more exemplifying of that than the chants that came about from the next match. No holds barred, Madcap Moss versus Happy Corbin. The bloody "we want tables" chants. For me, it's one of the most Pavlovian just response to, we'll hear that, we're going to chant "we want tables." Why? Like, do you really want to see a table spot that badly? To be fair, when Seth Rollins got a table out in the main event, he got an absolutely huge response. Also, I apologise, I keep hitting the table. I'm just tired. It's 5 to 5 in the morning. But, yeah, when Seth Rollins got the table out in the Hell in a Cell main event, he got a huge cheer and the crowd were chanting, "Thank you, Seth. Thank you, Rollins." And I'm just like, but it's just a table. Why do you care so much? What's the fixation? Yeah, it's something that's been built to over the course of years. Like the audience have been conditioned to really care about these things, and it's going to take time to recondition them to not do that. And to be fair, AEW is doing a fantastic job of that, to the point where now crowds are booing whenever there's a "we want tables" chant, because it's kind of a bit like the "what" chant, where it's like, no, this is a WWE chant you do at one of their shows. We want you to be invested in the story. It's like, yeah. And for me, that's kind of how you do it. you get them to focus on something else. And AEW is doing a great job of that. WWE, this match is a great example of the opposite. I agree with the performers that we want tables, it's fickle and stupid. But I can see why it's there. I can see how we've got to this point. You just need to recondition them, and it will take time. But that effort isn't there on WWE's part, so the chant is more... That's why it feels like a WWE chant. It gets embraced in a way, and then it's like, well, why do you keep chanting it? Well, you conditioned and embraced it. Like, of course it's there. Anyway, yeah, it's fine, I guess. This is Madcap Moss getting his rising moment in a match I cannot believe is the only match of SmackDown to make it to pay-per-view. That is insane. And you can probably guess what I'm going to say here. Yeah, it was fine. But also perfectly skippable. The same line again. The match itself, immediately to the outside, kicky punch, over ringside into a couple of chair spots. Fans immediately disengaging into a Pavlovian "we want tables." Corbin, being a dick, brought them back for a bit. But as soon as Madcap ran hot, they were right back into the good table. We can see a table now. He did an alright job just shouting at them. Was like, it may not be a table, but I'm going to kick his ass. And he starts whacking him with a chair. So he did his best. But for me, that just screams how not invested a crowd is when you try to win them back in, and it kind of do, but also not really. Yeah, it's not really Madcap's fault. It's more the actual story itself just hasn't engaged really. It's not been very well told. It's been better told than other things, but again, yeah, it's fine. It's the review I'll give to it. It's like, yeah, I don't particularly care, but I'm not going to say it's utter trash because it's just fine. Yeah. The final spot, instead, the steel step based was based on steel steps, fixed into the turnbuckles for Madcap to chuck the happy chappy into him with a fallaway slam. Comeuppance received as Moss wraps a chair around Corbin's neck, then slams the steel steps down to get the win. It's like, oh, he just tried to decapitate. Okay, cool, whatever. Yeah. It's that wrestling thing of whenever the heel does this exact action, it's like serious voice from the commentator is like, oh my god, I can't believe he's gone too far. I cannot believe he has done that. And the normally heel commentators will be like, even I have to say, like, this is a step too far. It's gone too far. When a babyface does it, it's like, oh boy, it's gone, it's gone, but oh, we're all behind Madcap and his clever, funny ways. Oh, what do you like, Madcap? And everyone's all jolly and jumping about. It's like, but he's done the same thing. It's just, I find that happens in all wrestling. It makes me laugh when it occurs. Anyway, Medic's out quickly because he just tried to kill a man. So there's like, oh, we should probably get him on the stretcher. Madcap getting to shout about the irony of the situation. The crowd not even invested enough to do a hey goodbye chant. Even that, but yeah, Corbin got called an asshole, but that was more because he took the piss out of them wanting tables, and he healed it up well. He got them invested in for the match for that tiny little moment. They were never really massively behind Madcap more than they were cheering for the guy to beat Corbin, which again for me says good job to Corbin in doing that. But again, didn't care for the match. It was fine. The build going into it was fine. Nothing special. Which again, and this next match unfortunately falls into the same boat. Like the run into it was fine. I like Mustafa Ali. It's awesome to see him there. Both these guys are amazing workers. Ali announced here as Chicago's own to amp up a big pop. Yet he ain't winning. This screams TV match, and the fact it's on a pay-per-view doesn't suddenly change that feeling. The build for it has been fine, and this card placement did not help really. Like, it was a match I semi-checked out of. The final match before the main event, I've got my eyes on the Hell in a Cell. I'm kind of glazing over at this point. Yeah, again, not at the fault of either lad. Story-wise, this just screams TV clash, and the card position almost emphasised it. Like, these guys, for me, could have opened the show. Then you have the women's match before Hell in a Cell. But maybe that detracts from Hell in a Cell because Cody can't really wrestle like a match anywhere near as strongly as the women, and you want to open strong. But you've played your strongest card first, and then the rest of the show has got nothing. So it's a choice you've made. And WWE do like, especially with Hell in a Cell pay-per-views, they normally have the bookend it with the cell matches. This is kind of a similar idea. Like the two most heavily featured matches, like these are the most important ones. They open and they close. Stick with the same format, just obviously you're getting up one cell match, which then means everything else in between is almost a waste of time. Like, yeah, none of this really matters. It's fine. Ali is amazing, but it's set for like a decent little win. It was always set to be a decent little win for the young US champion. Ali misses the 450 and crashes into tweaking his knee. Theory advantageously chops in and nicely transitions into the A-Town down for the win. Some top-notch wrestling in this match. I just didn't have much stakes in it. It's like, yeah. I know what this was from minute one. That's why for me it screams TV match. Because even though it's of a really high wrestling quality, in terms of my investment into what is happening, I don't really have any. This screams little elevation match for Austin Theory. And I guess if they are trying to do that over the course of time, it's good to get him on pay-per-views. But also, in terms of reviewing this show specifically, there were 5 matches in a row which were just fine. There was fun, entertainment in them, but I didn't care. They're all right. So, yeah. The 2 matches that, to be fair, WWE did it a little while where it was a 1-match show almost, but then it also has the Raw Women's match opener. So for me, it's a 2-match card. Everything else, unless you really care about keeping up with what's going on Monday Night Raw, or you're massively into Baron Corbin, Madcap Moss for some reason, like, aside from those reasons, just watch the opener, watch the main event. You'll be done in under an hour, and you've watched some really good wrestling. And also winced and gone, oh, no, why? How is you wrestling Cody? Why? Do I give applause to Cody, or do I just call him an insane madman? As in, go heal up, don't push through this. It's not. It's not worth it. It's just the thing he's been waiting his whole career for suddenly taken away from him. Like, no. Like it's fine. You don't have to. Dear. It makes the main event interesting to review. Do I applaud Cody, or do we like the guy? Like, mate, come on, just don't. It's a mixture of the two. I'm both fascinated by the quality of the match. I'm fascinated by the craziness of the man to do it. Both feelings are there. It's like, they juxtapose each other, but real people have conflicting emotions and things. We're not. That's only on TV where they directly think of one thing. I don't know. We have conflicting thoughts. It's conflicting review of Hell in a Cell. But that is my review, right? Overall, like it's the WWE 2K22 GM mode card. Really strong opener, really strong main event. Everything else in between completely skippable. Don't need to watch them. Don't need to do it. Just skip it. Which gives the whole pay-per-view overall like an almost it was fine. Like you don't need to watch the pay-per-view kind of feel, even though 2 of the matches when I was watching them felt significant. Like the Raw Women's opener felt really strong, and the Hell in a Cell felt really unique in both a positive and weird way. It's just a shame the rest of the card was nothing. Really nothing. And obviously, that's where I bring up the fact that this is an Aftershock review done live immediately after the pay-per-view. I've not watched this the next day where it's like, I don't really care about it, I can skip forward. Like, no, I was watching this live, taking notes. So I could talk about each individual match. It's like, I'm not watching this in a normal state. I can tell by my voice, I would not, me watching this in a normal state, I am not up right now. Type of situation. But yes, Hell in a Cell 2022. Mostly skippable and fine. The Hell in a Cell main event itself is worth watching for a really unique manner, and they end up getting into a really solid kind of way of putting you in to a point where I felt like they had no right to put on a quality that high, which is a massive applause to both men. Also Cody, just go off and get healed. And then there's the opening match with the women, which is just high caliber of wrestling from all 3 women. Like, all 3 have the capability to put on an amazing pay-per-view match, and that's exactly what they did. So go out of your way to watch the Raw Women's match as well. Aside from that, That's 2 out of 7 matches that are worth watching. The rest are entirely skippable. Yeah, again, unless you're somehow massively invested in the feuds you see for more, or you're enjoying them, like individually pick them and just watch those ones. Again, like Ezekiel versus Kevin Owens, which I know has got its fans, like Edge's Purple Durple People versus AJ Styles and friends. Like, yeah, like I know, but those storylines have got their own fans, and if you are fans of those storylines, then you will enjoy those matches. But because they're, for me, fine, or not at a point of it being that high investment point yet, because they're still building and bubbling. So yeah, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. Anyway, that brings me to the end of the review, and for me, time for bed. I will be live again on Thursday for the Wrestling Headlines AEW review. I'm very, very tired. And hopefully get my column out next week. I nearly did it this week. It came so close. As I decided to bring back my weekly column reviewing Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite and Rampage in one nice little thing. I talk about one topic from each show. And the whole plan was to get a column out on a Sunday. Because I've got time to actually create a nice little Photoshop image for it. I've got enough time to edit, get it out there, actually write what I want to. Last weekend, my local football team made it to their cup finals, and suddenly my time to do so was cut in half, and I was in May I got it out. And there was also AEW Double or Nothing that I also had to prepare for. Then this week there's also Hell in a Cell, but it was also the Queen's Jubilee, so everybody was busy doing with the Queen's Jubilees. So I was just I would like a weekend without any additional massive event or something, without a pay-per-view, so I can just write and get out this column. I can enjoy my Friday night wrestling and then just get it out at a decent time and know that afterwards I don't have to stay up till 5 in the morning. It'd be really nice. Really nice. So next weekend, fingers crossed, that's what's happening. Anyway, but last week's column got up. It's now out of date, obviously. I got so close to getting this one out. Anyway, so with that, I say thank you for listening, liking, engaging in any form, any manner. Always appreciated, never taken for granted. And with that, I ask, what did you make of Hell in a Cell 2022? How crazy is Cody? Should he have been allowed anywhere near that ring? Is this his swan song or whatever? Or is this the last time we're seeing him from a long time? Yeah, all your opinions, whatever, can hit me up on Twitter at the damn implicat. The implications with 2 S's whenever I stream on Twitch. Also, again, in the comments of my column whenever it goes up on the Investing Headlines website. And with that, bid you adieu. Adios.